Hi everyone, my name is John and I'm one of the archivists over at the Chester County Archives in Westchester. And today I wanted to create a quick video showing you how you can access some of our records online. Specifically, we're going to be looking at deeds and maps in this video. We know sometimes it can be difficult getting over to the archives in person, especially if you live outside the area or you work during the day. So hopefully this quick little video will encourage you to do some research at home. Now don't get me wrong, one of the best parts of our job is working directly with the researchers who do come in and do visit us in our public reading room. So we hope this information won't completely discourage you from visiting us in the future. And besides, there's really a lot of information that can only be accessed by visiting us or by contacting us. So we do encourage you to reach out if you have any questions. But before we get started, it's important to note that this video is not a tutorial on how to do property research. If you're looking to get more information about the property research process, then you're going to want to check out this property research guide section of our website. There are a number of useful resources there that will help you get started or help you, navigate around any difficult roadblocks you may encounter along the way. But before we jump into looking at historic maps, there's a useful tool called Chesco Views that you should know about. Chesco Views is an online database that contains all the current tax parcel information in Chester County. This is a really important resource to use, one, because it will help orient you for when you're going to look at historic maps, which we're going to do here in a minute, and two, because it provides all the most recent deed information for every property parcel in the county. And that is important for folks who want to do proper property research. And all that is spelled out in those previously mentioned guides. So for an example, let's go ahead and search for the Chester County Government Services Building, which is located at 601 West Town Road. Once you finish your search, the tax parcel will be outlined in red. Then you can go back up to the information eye, click back on the property, and scroll down to more. This will open up and neatly display all the most recent information for the particular property you're researching. And all this information will be located with the Chester County Recorder of Deeds office. So let's go ahead and get started by showing you how you can access some maps remotely. If you go to historicmapworks.com, go to the search tab at the very top, and then search by location. So let's go ahead and plug in Chester County, Pennsylvania, and then you'll be shown this list of all the different maps and atlases of Chester County, which you can access through this website. So let's go ahead and check out this 1883 Brios Farm Atlas for Chester County, which, to be honest, is probably the most useful resource there is for people doing early property research, because you'll see not only does it list the names of the property owners, but you get the property lines showing you the shape of that property in 1883. You're also getting the size of the property as well as the structures that would have been there. So you see there are some stone houses, some frame houses, some brick buildings, things like that. And you also see the roads, right? So you have Westchester Pike here converging with Paoli Pike going south. That's West Town Road. So if we're looking for the Government Services Center in West Goshen Township, I know it's on West Town Road, and anytime you leave, you're going to be looking west onto Neild Street. So we can assume the Government Services Center is located on a property that was once owned by Isaac Rodenboh in 1883. You see here he had 166 acres. But let's say you want to know more about this property. Perhaps you want to know when Isaac Rodenboh purchased the property. You can do that by visiting familysearch.org, which is going to make you create a free account. So once you have a free account, you can go ahead and search. Go ahead and search that catalog. And then you're going to want to search by the author. The author's name in this case is going to be Chester County Recorder of Deeds. And then you'll see the option here. So you see the deed books here. This is the catalog entry you're going to want to access. And once you click on that link, it's going to open up not only the indexes, but as well as the deed books. So let's go ahead and look for Isaac Rodenboh purchasing property in West Goshen Township before 1883. So let's head back to Family Search, where we're going to see two types of indexes. We're going to see a grantor index, and we're going to see a grantee index. Grantor is a term used to describe people selling property, and grantee is a term used to describe people purchasing property. So we know this Isaac Rodenboh, he must have purchased 166 acres before 1883. So because he was purchasing property, we want to look at the grantee index, which is organized alphabetically by last name. So we see the R index here. So let's go ahead and open this up by clicking the camera icon all the way to the right. And that's going to open up this scanned microfilm roll, which we're going to have to navigate to the bottom because we know this film or this roll ends with last names beginning with R. So you see we're in the P's right now, so we have to keep scrolling. Yep, so you see now we're in the grantee index for people with the last name R. But once you get the last name, then you're going to have to pay attention to the first name. So these are all first names beginning with the letter J. So we're looking for I. So it just takes a little maneuvering around and guessing what page you're looking for. So we're in the H's now, so we're pretty close. Yep, and there you have it. We have the last name beginning with R and the first name beginning with I, and then it goes chronologically by date. So you see here we have two types of dates. You have the date of the indentured and the date of the record. And you see that doesn't always match up. So for example, here we see one was recorded in 1899 and then 1911 here. Basically, the date of the indenture means the date that the transaction actually occurred. The date of the record is when that deed was recorded with the recorder of deeds office. The date you want to pay attention to is when the transaction actually occurs. So again, if we're looking for the Isaac Rodenboh property, we know it was before 1883. So we just want to pay attention to this column here. And then we see two entries for Isaac Rodenboh, one in 1879 and one in 1878. You see this entry is for a trust, so it's probably including multiple people. So Isaac Rodenboh is probably just one of many. But let's go ahead and check that out regardless. So this deed was recorded in Deed Book E9, page 115. So if we head back to the main page for the deed books, we'll go down to Series 9. So you see this is the deed book we're interested in, so we're just going to open that up. So yep, there is that particular deed. You see it's J.H. King and wife to the Washington group of Chester County. So if we check out this first section of the deed, which is always going to introduce the parties involved in the transaction, right, you see Joshua H. King of the township of Willistown in the county of Chester and the state of Pennsylvania, and Rachel, his wife. That's one part, and the other part is going to be Jonathan Lewis, Isaac Rodenboh, and George Renard, trustees of the Washington group of Chester County. So this is, again, a group of people, so probably not the West Goshen piece. But if we go to this section right here, you see all that certain lot of land situated in the said township of Willistown. So we know the property that's being discussed in this particular deed is in Willistown. So it's not our West Goshen piece. So we can go ahead and go back. Let's check out that other entry for Isaac Rodenboh, which was in B9 285. So let's go check that one out. And B9. So it's going to be on the latter half of this microfilm roll. So let's go ahead and take a look at this deed to see if it's describing the property in West Goshen Township. Again, this first part of the deed is always going to discuss the parties involved. So you see the grantors, John Huey and John Darlington. They're selling property to Isaac Rodenboh, the grantee. And then you see this word whereas. That is a good indicator that the deed is going to transition and begin talking about the history of the property. So typically deeds require the grantors to describe how they came into possession of their property, right? They have to prove that they legally own the property, and that's what this section here is going to do. This is called the recital clause, basically referring to the previous deed, which was recorded in deed book T8, page 228. It's important to keep in mind that the recital clause is pretty early on in this deed. Most of the time, the recital clause is going to be towards the bottom of the deed, but that's just a good example to highlight that not every deed looks the same, right? They typically includes similar language, but each deed is different. So sometimes you're just going to have to read through all the legal jargon, right? But again, you have the recital clause here. If you go down a little further and you start with the word beginning, once you see the word beginning, that is going to be another indicator that you're going to get the physical description of the property, right? Talk about purchase and degrees and the bounding neighbors. So that's going to begin with the word beginning, and it's going to end with the word beginning as well. So we know all this section right here is the physical description of the property, and then you see the word containing. That's going to tell you how big the property is, right? Containing 167 acres. Containing 167 acres. And if you want to go even further back, right, we know the last deed about this property was recorded in deed book T8, page 228. So we can always just go back. Let's go to T8. So then we have the two George Matlacks right here. Again, all that messuage. Messuage is a word to describe a dwelling house. So you know if you see this word, there was some type of dwelling house on the property at the time of the transaction. You see if it just says a tract or a lot of land, then we know when it was being sold, then there was no dwelling house on the property. But again, we see it's in the township of West Goshen. We see the word beginning here. Again, that means you're going to get a physical description of the property. Beginning, that's the end of the description, and then containing 167 acres. You can just see how different this deed looks to the previous two deeds. Again, that just goes to show not all deeds are the same. But if you head back to our website and go to the property research guide, that will give you a nice guide on how you can read and interpret deeds, even though they don't all look the same. So we hope you found this information useful. Again, this will encourage you to do some research whenever is most convenient for you. But again, please, if you have any questions or need help navigating the process, all of our contact information is located on our website, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Thanks for watching, and take care.